How you doing, man?
Doing good, brother. How are you?
Thank you. I'm good, man. I'm glad you're doing this for us. I'm sure you've seen some of those interviews that I've been doing, and man, I've been learning a lot.
Me too.
Some of these guys are just awesome. Bob Bach, Charas, uh, John Whitten. So good stuff. And you?
They're scraping the bottom of the barrel now.
Oh, Gosnell too. I interviewed Gosnell.
That's David's my shooting hero.
Yeah,
F class shooting hero. I don't shoot anything like David, but he's always been kind of my idol in F class. He's awesome, dude.
yeah,
Awesome
he's
shooter.
good guy, man. Good guy. How do you do this in the sense of do you have these shoots that you plan these matches that you're gonna attend and then you just decide I'm gonna do this one and do this one, or you just kind of go back and forth? How do you do this?
When we see a match that we want to shoot, we don't mess around. We just go ahead and enter the match, and we make allowances for that and try to prepare ahead.
Yeah,
And I'm terrible at that, honestly. So.
is that why you had to get Tracy involved, your wife?
Yes.
So she does all the planning and everything.
Yeah.
That's a good plan.
She's the brains of the operation. I do great work.
She has been tearing it up lately. Holy smokes, man!
She's a good shooter, dude. She's getting better. I mean, she's really starting to really see it well. Mid range was kind of her jam, and now she's kind of getting the hang of the 1,000-yard stuff. I hope she does well. I'm going to keep trying to give her good rifles with it where she can be competitive. But yeah, she's seeing it good. So
yeah, man,
starting to see it really good.
She's been tearing it up. I'm happy for her. I remember we were paired up at Texas State one year, and she was just making she was inefficient with her movements, and you know how that is, right?
Sure.
She was doing too much, and I just told her I forgot what I told her, and of course afterwards you told me that you had told her that 18 times, but it took somebody else to say it.
Right. Well, and that's true. With kids, loved ones, when you're trying to teach them something, sometimes it comes across better, or they take it more to heart when somebody else tells them that. And that's exactly what happened at the TSRA on the way home. Well, Eric Cortina told me this. Eric Cortina told me that. And I'm like I've never said that. But she said it just made sense to me. I'm like, okay, that's fine. That works too. That's awesome.
Yeah, but man, she, like I said, she just made that one little change, and all of a sudden, forget the score, the vertical, it just tightened up, and everything just started clicking a little better. I was happy, but man, she's been tearing it up. I mean, she's been whooping on all you boys, right? Or close to it.
Yeah, she's been up there, so she's doing good.
Yeah, well, good for her, man. So, where does it start for you, man? Where does it all start? Like, what gets you into this game?
I don't know. It just kind of interests me. I read about it on Accurate Shooter, and I was like, man, I'd like to try that. But at that time in Arkansas, there was no place to shoot F class, and there was no F class shooters in Arkansas really that I knew. Later on down the road, I met Jim Fowler, which everybody knows. He was about the only F class guy in Arkansas. And so we heard, me and Kevin Shepard, Richard McLean, John Crockett, Bill Hurley, we had heard about a match, an F class match. And the Tulsa Red Castles in Sand Springs. Rick Jensen ran the match at the time. Mm-hmm. And so we're like, we're all going to go shoot this match, a 600-yard match. I believe John had like a bench rest type rifle and a 6.5 47. I took a hunting rifle. Kevin took a hunting rifle. I think Bill may have took a hunting rifle. I had a 6BR and a Manners T2A, and Kevin had like a 6.5 47 and a Schultz stock or something with a board strap to the front. I mean, we were pretty rednecking it up, and we had a blast. We went and shot. We had a blast. I thought, man, if I had me one of them flat rifles, I'd show these boys how to shoot.
Yeah.
Well, little did I know, that's a very deep rabbit hole.
Still going, right?
Oh, yeah. It does never end, I don't think, but it's all good. Love the game.
So how long ago was that?
Shot my first match in October of 2014.
Okay. So doesn't seem like that long ago, but now 7 years, man? Crazy.
Yeah.
So you go and you shoot your mid-range match. How did you do?
I shot at 590 with 29 X's.
That's pretty respectable.
It is. I had a coyote rifle in 60 yard. It was very accurate. All I did was chase a spotter. When now I look back on it, I was like, gosh dang, this is easy. Of course, the wind didn't blow. I mean, yeah, it seemed easy at the time.
Yeah.
So.
Well, so I wonder if I interviewed Larry Tate, and his first match, he broke a world record on his first.
Oh,
wow. What happened is he went and shot bench rest because there was no F class around. He wanted to shoot F class, but in the off time, he's like, I'm gonna go shoot a bench rest match. So he went to go shoot bench rest for a score, and he set a world record and won the nationals.
Wow.
And he's like, oh, this ain't that hard.
That's like shooting a Boone and Crockett your first time deer hunting.
Yeah. So he said, then he went to a F class match, first time ever, and he did it with a 243, and he shot it clean. And he's like, oh, this ain't that hard. And I think it was on the second match, like on the 14th shot or something, he finally hit a 9. And then he said the wind started blowing, and then his score just went straight down. And that's what really hooked him. You know what I mean? While he was keeping it clean, it didn't seem that exciting. It's when the wind started blowing that he realized, oh, crap, this is the game, So
yeah, the wind makes all the difference in the world.
So you shoot mid range. What gets you into long range? Because I mean, it's a different animal, right? Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. It's just a completely different game. We just started at mid range because that's what was close to us. I mean, the closest range like 3 hours. Closest 1,000-yard range before they built Long Range Alley in Louisiana was 8 hours, which is Bayou Rifles.
Mm-hmm.
And there's one in Mississippi that we have never been to. It's kind of on the bucket list one of these days, but we just didn't have access to a lot of 1,000-yard ranges. And my first real experience shooting 1,000 was at the Southwest Nationals.
Oh, okay.
First time we went was 2016, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
2015, 2016. And that was eye-opener. Learned a lot. First year we went out there and learned a ton, actually. And then learned a lot of things about what to do. Then the very next year I went back and learned a lot of things about what not to do. And those are two very important things. They're different.
And they're never ending, the what not to do, because oftentimes I end up doing, like one of my not to do's is don't do that again. Oh, you did it a third time. Stop it,
Yeah. Me and Timmy Vaught, we've just determined that we're going to write a book and call it What Not to Do in F class, and we should be able to make a fortune on that.
Well, you can have 50 volumes.
Yeah, it's going to be a never-ending story.
That would work. So now you get into long range, right? You're at the Southwest Nationals. What was it like? Was that the first time you've been to a big match where you kind of start seeing all these Larry Bartholomew's and Jim Murphy's and all these legends of the game? Oh yeah,
me and my buddy Kevin, we were like, "Holy smokes! That's David Gosnell. That's John Myers. That's Eric Cortina." And all these guys were like, "Wow, this is real." Big deal. It was a big deal to us, you know.
I remember my first match. It was in 2010. My first big match, Spirit of America, and I was the same way. Like that's Nancy Tompkins, and that's Larry Bartholomew, and and that's Jim Murphy, and that's Charles. That's Charles Ballard. That's the guy, the one that, you know what I mean, and it was a big eye-opening experience for me because I realized, you know how it is. You shoot for 3 days or whatever, and every now and then there's a relay that you may beat some of those guys, and then it was at least to me, it was eye-opening. Like, oh, I can beat them. I can beat them one time. That means I can try to string a few more together. And you know what I mean? Like they're beatable. Somehow, before I showed up, I had this misconception that there's no way I can ever beat these guys. You know what I mean? And it wasn't until I started traveling and shooting with them that I realized they also make mistakes. Of course, I make more of them, but
yeah, the individual Palma day is a really good day to build your confidence because you got that big target at 800, and if you shoot good at 800, you can say, I'm within 2X's of such and such. Yeah. Then we get to 900, it gets a little smaller. I'm within 1 point of such and such. Then you get to a grain like, oh shit, the wheels fell off.
I'm still on the first page.
Yeah.
People don't realize how big of a deal that is to be on page 1, right? I'm still on page 1. I'm doing well.
Yeah. I've been on page 2 so many times or farther, it's not even funny.
It's crazy how competitive. Have you noticed how much competitive it has gotten since you started?
Oh, absolutely. It's changed since like yourself and many others, the sport has changed just in the 7 years that I've been in it. The scores have gone up. Mid-range, if you're not shooting at an X, you're wrong. I mean, that's just, you got to shoot at an X. 1,000 yards is like getting to the point where you drop over a couple points. It's got to be windy before you're allowed to drop points, at a grand.
Yeah.
I mean, you drop a point, you're dropping spots, and you better be pounding X's. You got to pound the X's. So you have to have a good rifle and good wind calls. Used to back in the day, back when I started, if you brought a really good rifle, you'd beat 3/4 of the field just because you had a good rifle.
Mm-hmm.
That don't work anymore.
Everybody has a good rifle now. I mean,
that's right.
It has gotten to the point where, how can I say this? It's the equipment. I know they call it an equipment race, but it's not anymore, I don't think. Because, I mean, it's to the point where you look down the line, everybody has the same equipment, right? So it's not really a race anymore. And I think we finally got to the point where the equipment has been somewhat standardized to where everybody has about the same stuff. Yep. And now it's really coming down to the shooter. I think it's more on the shooter now and wind reading, because people don't realize how much. Yes, wind reading is important, but if you have a bad rifle, it doesn't matter how good of a wind reader.
It doesn't matter. You can't overcome a mediocre rifle at a national event, because there's guys that show up with, I'd say, a really good rifle at a national event's a 30 MOA rifle. Most of them are capable of quarter-minute accuracy. Then it's strategy and wind calling. And those guys, they always come to the top. The Todd Hendricks, the Keith Glasscocks, the most consistent top shooters are. So, and there's a reason why that is.
Yeah. There's, I did that interview with Todd, and he said, he just quit worrying about it, and now he just goes and has fun, and because, as you know, you can put a lot of pressure on yourself when you're shooting.
You can make yourself miserable if you allow it to happen.
Oh, absolutely, and I think
I see that happen quite a bit with guys. I'm not saying that you don't take it too serious, but you can take it too serious where you make yourself miserable over it. I've done it. And then I was like, I'm not doing this. I'm not making a paycheck at it. I love it. I love to shoot, and I love to be competitive. I hate to lose more than I enjoy winning, but I'm not going to make myself miserable over it. And at some point, you just got to relax and understand that the guys that we shoot with are sharks, and you're going to get eat time to time. It's almost impossible to stay at the very top. It's kind of like being a UFC fighter. You can only be at the top for so long, then you get knocked out, right? It's hard, and once you understand that it's going to be an up and down progression, you'll be a lot happier in that class.
You have to get used to losing. That's
sure.
Part of it.
You don't have to like it, but you just got to understand that it's going to happen.
Right, and you have to account for it, right? It's like you just have to. Well, you will lose most of the matches you ever shoot. That's just how it is. And you have to be comfortable with that. And then you have to also understand that one day it's going to be your day, and you better be there, because if you're at home going, I'm not going to go to that match because for whatever reason, and and then it may have been your day. You know what I mean? And again, this is in my head. I keep thinking in my head that 2016 was my year to win the Nationals, and I didn't go. And that was in Lodi. That was the first year they had the electronic targets.
Yeah.
And I didn't show up because, I had too much going on. But I did show up for the team match. And everybody was talking about, and I mean unanimously, about how tough the range was and how, it was horrendous and the conditions or whatever. And then the next day, we shot the team match. And then the next day, I was going to stay. So I asked them if I could shoot. And they're like, yeah. So I paid just my day fee and I shot, right? And I laid down, and when everybody was struggling, I shot a 200 with 14 and I won a gold medal. And I'm like, oh, maybe this was my year. You know what I mean? Maybe, but, possibly not. But I'm thinking, you just got to be there. You know what I mean? You just never know.
Right. If you don't go, you can't win.
Exactly. So, and maybe, as you and I both know, there's a huge possibility. The reason I shot well was because I had no pressure, right? I was only going to shoot one day. There's no way of me winning, so there was no way of me screwing anything up, right?
Right.
And I just shot with no pressure. And as you know, when you shoot relaxed, it's like the 9-1 on, right? It sucks, but at the same time, it relaxes you. Does it?
Well, yeah. Anytime you shoot a 9, it sucks.
But at the same time,
when it's 9-1 on, now you really got to knuckle down right and try to clean the rest of it out, because you don't want to give nothing away.
Yeah. Man, that whole 9-1 on phenomenon, it's crazy how often that happens.
I actually seen that happen. Well, I hate to throw my teammate under the bus here, but Keith Glasscock at when we shot Montana here a couple weeks ago had 4 9-1 ons.
Sorry, Keith. Sorry.
Sorry. Yeah. I apologize, brother. I love you. No homo. Yeah, it was tough to watch. Just watching it, like, this guy doesn't do that. You know what I mean?
He had
4 of them.
He was getting them out of the way, I guess.
Yeah.
Man, I tell you what I hate more than 9-1 on is 9 last on. When I leave a 9 hanging up there on the last shot, because you think you're out, like, okay, I'm done. Good. I know, I just shot 19 clean or whatever, or, I'm only down 1 and I'm 19. And I'm like, oh, good. I'm glad this is over. And then, boom, 9.
Yeah, and when everybody's looking at the targets, you're like, oh, he shot a 9 on his last shot.
That's my point. You leave a 9 hanging up there, so everybody at least already knows you're down at least 1 point.
Yeah, and invariably, it'll be the only damn 9 for 4 or 5 targets each direction.
Oh,
the rest of them be 10s and X's. Like, oh, look at that big fat 9.
That makes it even worse, right?
Yeah.
Oh man, it's a psychological warfare. A lot of it is. You know what I mean?
Can be. Sure.
Because A lot of people, you know how it is, and I don't think they mean it to be disrespectful or mean or whatever, but it seems like whenever I shoot bad, that's when everybody's asking me how I shot. How'd you do? How'd you do? You know.
Yeah, I usually say I stunk it up. I'm pretty good at saying that. I stunk it up.
Yeah, it's an interesting deal. So you shooting long range and you're getting comfy with it, right? And now, did you start long range with the 284 or Shihane, or what did you do?
Yeah, Shane's been my deal since day one. Really, I actually built a 6.5 of 47, and I went and shot a match and realized that everybody there was shooting 7mm. And I'm like, I built the wrong thing, because that's what all the bench rest shooters were. That was the hot cartridge and bench rest at the time. Mm-hmm. And to me, that kind of made sense. But when I went to an actual F-class match, everybody were shooting 284s. I'm like, crap, I bought the wrong thing. So on the way home, I ordered a 7mm barrel. And I had seen a video with Shiraz shooting under a winch coach, shooting a 284 Shihane. And I thought, well, if that's good enough for him, that's good enough for me too. And my buddy had ordered a 284 Shihane reamer, and he loaned it to me, and I took it to my gunsmith, and I've been with a 284 Shihane for the most part ever since. I've traveled down other roads, trying different cartridges, Dasher, 6SLR, straight 284, 6.5 47, 260. It's always been the Shihane for me.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I've been trying to wheeler for a while, but I think I'm going back to the Shihane. It's just I don't know. I just more comfortable with it. And what I mean by that is like a 284. Sometimes it'll tune way down there, and it's like, son of a gun, man. I'm giving up 100 feet or more to a Shihane. You know what I mean? And you know how it is. You start adding up all those small leakers that you had, you know.
Yeah.
But Shihane's always been a good one for me. I just tried this wheeler, and I mean, don't get me wrong, that wheeler shoots lights out. But at the same time, you know, it's this one that I have. It tuned at 2750, and I'm like, great, it shoots great, but you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, but you know, I mean, if it shoots, it shoots.
Yeah, I think that's the most important thing. I don't think really velocity. I think I'll say velocity doesn't matter. I guess it probably does at some point, but if it's stupid accurate, you're going to make wind calls, you know, and it comes down to wind calls, and your brain's going to adjust to the different, whatever little different holds that is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's for sure accurate. I mean, it's really good. It shoots really, really consistent. So you build a 284 Shihane, you go to Burger. Oh, or was it after you had been to Burger?
No, when I showed the first time, I had a Shihane.
Okay, so you show up with a Shihane. How'd you end up the first time you went to?
It
Burger?
wasn't page one.
Right. All right, so you're going home and you're like, all right, that's usually a long drive home.
I think I was around 50th place, somewhere like that. I was like, you know, that's okay for the first time. In my mind, it was.
But on the way home, right, it's like how many people did you call on the way home? Because, you know, that's usually what I do. I start thinking, and I'm like, I'm going to call so-and-so, and then I talk to him, and then I talk to whoever else, and then I'll call Speedy, or somebody's gonna hear from me. I don't do that as often anymore, but I used to always have someone to call because I had a question about, you know, my newfound knowledge of how bad I sucked.
Right. See, but when we first started, there was no F-class shooters here, so everything we learned, we took home with us, and we didn't have nobody to really bounce it off of at that time, because I met some people at Southwest Nationals that was nice to me, you know, and answered my stupid questions. Well, they're not stupid. there's no stupid questions. You don't know what you don't know, right? And we ask a lot of questions, and I chewed on a lot of the information that I'd gathered because it was kind of information overload. I was like, man, I got to make some changes.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had to try to figure out a game plan to try to improve my reloading process. And I knew shooting 600 yards was not the answer to being good at long range, and that I needed to try to start shooting more long range matches because it is a different game. And I went home, I made some changes, and I come back next year with a pretty good rifle, actually. And day one in individuals, I'm like in 5th place. I'm like, holy crap, this is real. Next day, I go out there, shoot 1,000, drop one the first relay, then the wheels come off the second relay. I'm back to the drawing board. Being at the top of your node and going to Phoenix is probably not a good idea.
Yeah.
Had plenty of vertical, and at that level, you're giving away free points that you'll never get back. And for example, David Gossdale wins Southwest Nationals 3 down. Jay Christopherson wins Southwest Nationals at 3 down. When David did it, I thought that'll never be done again. And then 2020, Jay does it with 3 down.
And
Dude,
he was only
amazing.
He was only 1x short, or did he tie the whatever? Yeah, and you're talking for the whole championship, not
right.
Yeah,
the whole 3 days or whatever it is. Yeah. I mean, when David did, I thought nobody will touch that. Then Jay turns around, does it, and in my opinion, it was windier than when David did it.
Well, not only did Jay do it, wasn't Pat tied with Jay? And I think Jay only got him on X's, and Todd was a point behind. I mean, everybody's bunched up right there. It's not like Jay just took off and
right.
Everybody was right there.
Dude, and that's the way it is at the top right anymore. I mean, people that say X's don't matter.
Yeah, well.
Don't shoot them then, okay?
I'll take them.
Yeah, because I guarantee you'll finish higher with them because we're not shooting cleans yet at a grand, but we will eventually. It'll come to that.
David Mann. I saw him do it.
Yeah, I've only seen one, and Mark Walker did it at
Texas.
Right.
Mark Walker did it about 2 weeks or a month after David Mann.
Yeah. Mark did it at the Lapua Long Range Regional at Bayou.
And David Mann did it like a month before at the Texas State match, 2015, I want to say. And David's was, I mean, I'm not taking anything away from Mark, obviously, but David's, he got done shooting, and his scorekeeper missed like 3 shots. And David just shot the first 600 ever. He gets up off the line, and the scorekeeper's like, you got 3 more shots to go. And David's like, no, I'm done. And he's like, nope. And David's like, well, you missed some. And he goes, gotta shoot him.
I hate that when it happens.
And of course, it didn't go as well as I'm saying the story, right? It was a little bit,
I understand.
A little bit more heated. And David told him, if I hit a 9, you and I are not going to be friends. In typical David Mann manner. And he laid down and shot 3 more clean shots. So awesome. That was, again, not only the first 100 ever, but just the mental fortitude that it took to do that, to get up off the line, argue with your scorekeeper, and then get back down and put 3 more clean on target.
And them shots that they miss, and you have to lay back down there and shoot them, they're aggravating.
Oh.
It's hard to shoot angry.
He shot a 600, whatever, and I shot a 599 35X's or something that day. And when I came off the line and I remember that shot. I saw the wind pick up, or I thought I did, and I'm like, I'm gonna just move over here just to make sure. And I moved over and I leaked it out about that far on the left side. I'm like, I guess it wasn't there. And that was the only shot I lost all day. I mean, I would have had a 600 with higher X count. But when I shot it, David was watching me. And I come off the line and he goes, "That was you. That was not the gun." I'm like, "It was me." He knew. He just knew that I did something stupid. But, oh, man, I miss him, man. I wish he'd come back and shoot with us some more. But,
yeah, me too. We always had dollar bets for the closest to the X on the Cold War.
But
I lost a lot of dollars.
So now you're shooting long range and you're talking about how these guys you're giving away free points like you're talking about, right? And you can't. I always tell I was talking to Todd Hendricks and I told him, I said, X's count. I tell them they count 1 point. Most people say they don't count anything. I said, no, they count for 1 point, because if you're leading, the guy behind you needs to make up 2 points to beat you. Because if they just tie you, you win. They have to get a point on you to beat you. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So if you're winning, they're worth an extra point. Because tying you, it ain't going to be good enough, right? And man, and again, when you're shooting X's, you're more comfortable. At least I am. I feel more comfortable when at 200 with 10 versus a 200 with 18. One guy's on more than the other. It's obvious, right? Or 19 X's or more. Some people have shot more than that, and we're gonna get into that.
Yeah.
So anyway, obviously you and I are on the same page. X's absolutely matter, and again, whoever says they don't, they can give them to me, because I'll take them.
I'll take them.
So this is 2017 or so, when you're 16, 17, when you come back and you're in there, you're in the hunt, and all of a sudden the wheels fall off and you just find out that you're at the top of the node. And
that's 17.
17.
Right. Yeah.
So you go back home and again, back to the drawing board, right?
Yeah. It was the year that I learned what not to do.
Mm-hmm.
I made some mistakes that I learned from. Again, talking to people. Like, oh yeah, I see that now. I didn't at the time. So,
so
it's just a process we all go through, right?
Yeah. And then 2018, you come back, and what happens?
I got super lucky.
So it's raining, right?
Yeah.
Number one, it's in Raton, like the most wicked range, pretty much, that we shoot at, right?
Yeah.
Or it can be.
It can be.
So it starts raining, and they say you got to shoot anyway, right? Because it wasn't lightning or anything. They didn't call the match.
Right.
My perspective on that, I thought, I ain't shooting in this crap. It's individuals. I'll just shoot the team match. And I'm standing under a tent, and it's raining, and everybody else is shooting, and I'm like, I'm not gonna shoot, So I stand there, and a good 5 to 10 minutes go by, and then I thought, you know what? Screw it. I'm gonna shoot. I'm everybody else is shooting. I'm gonna shoot. This is what I signed up for. So I decided to shoot, and of course I could hardly see, but I go and shoot, and I drop 1 point, and I'm like, heck yeah, 1 point down in that, I'll take it. You know what I mean? There's no way. I'm sure there's some people cleaned it, but I doubt it. I thought when I came off the line, 1 point down was stout. So I was like, I'm glad I did this. I'm in the hunt. Let's go.
Yeah.
What did you do? Give me your story.
Well, honestly, I was right there with you. I didn't want to shoot. I was like, crap, I don't want to shoot in this garbage. I was late setting my stuff. People are actually firing, and I'm still setting my rifle up. And I'm like, oh, crap, let's just get this over with. I was bummed. I didn't want to shoot in the rain. I hate getting my crap wet, but it happens, right?
Yeah.
I started shooting. I'm like, going for score. and just and the funny thing was, the exes just kept coming, and I can't really see that well. I'm just kind of chasing the spotter around, just making. I can see the spotter. All right, I know that's on the left side. I need to hold a little bit more this way, and my gun's torquing like crazy. I'm like, yeah, this stinks. The wheels are going to come off this thing here any minute. And the exit just kept coming. And I get up to 15. And I'm like, man, 17's the record.
Isn't it crazy how it just starts? You're doing something, all of a sudden it creeps up into your head, and you start thinking.
Because I was thinking train wreck anytime, right? Because I'm like, this is never going to work out. My gun's just jumping out of the bags. My setup stinks. Everything's wet. And shot 15, my focus changed. It goes, hey, 17's the record. You can tie the record. Don't screw it up and shoot a 9.
You start thinking about 9s.
Yeah. Just totally something you shouldn't be thinking about, right?
Correct. Yeah. It's funny how that happens, because you always, at least it happens, I think it happens to everyone, where you go, like I said, you're doing well and you're doing your thing, and then at one point you go, oh, I can, you're thinking about the record. I remember the first time I ever shot a clean, I get to about shot 18, I'm like, I'm clean. I'm about to shoot my first clean ever. 9. Don't shoot a 9. Don't shoot a 9. Don't shoot a 9. 9. God dang it. So you're up about shot 15, and you're all X's, right? This is at 1,000 yards, and you shot nothing but X's, and you start thinking, oh, I'm two away.
Yeah. I'm like, get your 2 X's and get out. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I hit 17. Man, I was like, please, Lord, do not let me shoot a 9.
So you get two more shots, you got 17 now. So now you just tied the record. At this point, you're like, just 10s or X's, I don't care. Let it be 10s if you want. Just don't let it be 9s, right?
Right. I'm not a greedy person, so I was going to be super happy with 17. And I get shot 20, and it's still all X's, and I'm like, crap, I'm done.
So what happened? What happened on the 20 shot? Did you shoot the 20th? Because that's the big one, right? You're like, please don't come up with 9. Please don't come up with 9. Please don't come.
So shot 20 comes up next, and I'm like, I'm done. I'm happy with 20. And I hollered at the line officer, hey, I said, I'd like to have that target. And Madison Bramley, because my brain's pretty much mush at this point.
Well, you just shot 20 X's at 1,000 yards.
She's like, lay down and keep shooting. I'm like, oh, yeah. So I lay down and shoot a couple more X's, and 23 barely went out at 4 o'clock. I mean, it was close. But you know what? I was okay with 20. So 22 was just icing on the cake.
Yeah.
It's all good.
So you shoot 200. Because 17 seemed almost undoable, right? It just seemed like,
to this day, 17 is the bar. Still, there's not a lot of cats that's went 17 or more.
I went 16 with 2. I don't know if you've seen that target that I posted. I went in 2017. I went 16 X's, and 2 shots were like, if I had started a shot earlier, I would have tied the record. But the last sighter that I took before I went for record, they were like 3 X's in a row, and I finally decided, okay, I'm going for record. And then I shoot a 200 with 16. If I had started 1 shot earlier, I would have tied the record. But 17 is hard.
To me, the 17's the bar, because there's maybe been, I don't know, 5, 6 guys at the most that's went 17 or more.
Yeah.
At what was it, 2020 Nationals in Phoenix, Timmy Vaught, just to give you an idea of, but just to put it in perspective, how much our sport has advanced. I think it was 2020 Nationals at Phoenix. 1 relay. Timmy Vaught shoots a 200 with 18, I shot a 200 with 17, and Ken Dickerman shot a 200 with 17. A 216 didn't even get a medal, dude. I mean, really? Really?
Nuts.
You shoot a 216 at $1,000, you don't get a medal? And I asked Ken, I said, which I Creedmored Ken, so it's all better.
It's even better.
I said, you know what stinks is you shoot a 217 and end up third.
That's probably worse.
Yeah, I mean, but that's where our sport has progressed to.
Yeah.
Todd Hendricks has shot 218 a couple times. Brian Blake shot a 219. I've shot 219 twice. It's just a matter of time.
Jeremy Smith, he just
shot a 219.
Yeah, and I'm glad a lot of these guys that you're naming are my teammates, but the others are your teammates. That's the problem.
Yeah. Jeremy's mean radius. I know Jay talked about mean radius on the targets the other day with your interview. His mean radius for that group was 1.51.
Tiny.
I apologize. I'm getting text. Sorry.
Tiny.
Oh, that's itty bitty, dude.
He sent me the picture because he sent me that picture because as you know he's one of my teammates and sent me the picture and I mean he had that one that he lost was just if he had a click right on his scope he would have went 20 and maybe farther, right? Because once you hit 20 he could have probably threatened your record, you know.
Right. Well,
because I
dropped shot 18 on that string. I shot 17 in a row. And I'm not putting it off on making excuses or anything like that. But when I got to shot 16, 17, somebody had crossfired on one of the competitors' targets to my left. Doug Skogman, actually. And they were trying to find out where the crossfire come from. Mm-hmm. And they asked me, said, did you crossfire? And I said, I did not crossfire. Oh. And my scorer said, he did not crossfire. And then they asked me again. And I said, I did not crossfire. So I went back to shooting my target, and it kind of broke my concentration. And I was already shading to the left side of the X-ring on shots 16 and 17. And then when I come back with 18, it was just left to the X-ring. And I already had 20 on my mind at this point, right? There wasn't no nines popping up in my head this time.
It's weird how that happens. Yeah.
Yeah. So
it was Doug's fault.
Anyways, Jeremy laid it down tight, dude. It was good.
So it was Doug's fault. We got it.
Yeah, we're going to. Doug Skogman, if you're watching, it's your fault. Not really. And he's also my teammate, so I can rib him a little bit.
Yeah. So, I mean, the sport has definitely upped the bar. I mean, when I started F-Class, the record was 199.15. Nobody was shooting cleans. Nobody.
Right. Crazy.
And now, if you don't shoot a clean, forget not shooting a clean. Even if you shoot a clean with low X count, you're upset.
Oh, yeah. Dude, if you show up with anything with a gun capable, you got to show up with a gun that it's capable of 214. That's the bar for me.
Yeah.
If it's not capable of that, it's just mediocre or less at that point, right?
Yeah. It's insane. Yeah. So the way I always, and you're close to it. I mean, I always say 75% X count is where I'm happy. But that would be a 15, you know?
Yeah.
75% X count. If it ain't shooting 75%, you're giving up a lot. Because, like you said, 16 X's, that's above 75%, and he didn't even get a medal.
Yeah. I mean, it's just where the sport's at, right?
Yeah. So have you played with any of those 300s or had the urge to? Oh, here we go.
I'm in the process of building a 300.
Okay.
And I told Dan Bramley the other day, I said, sometimes you just got to pee on the fence to find out.
Yeah.
The electric fence to find out. And
he called me, Bramley called me long time ago. He was green. He was early, or he was early in the game, and we're pouring concrete, and my phone rings, and it was Dan Bramley. So I'm like, all right, see what he's got. So I answer, and he's like, 300 WSM. Should I build one? I'm like, no, do not build one. Just, you're doing really well with your Shehane. Just stay there. Don't let everybody else go chase it. And of course, this was very early in the 300 game, right? I said, don't build one. It's not gonna get you anything. Well, he built one. I don't know if he built the WSM or he built the Magnum. The point is, he had to go find out.
Yeah.
And of course, he's back to the Shehane. And once he went back to the Shehane, his scores went back up, But some guys, as you know, like Timmy and Dickerman and some of these guys, Myers. You know who Stephen Blair is? Sleepy Gator?
Sure. Yeah. Actually, I don't know Stephen personally, and he wouldn't know me from Adam if I walked up to him. But when I first got started in F class, I sent him a message on Accurate Shooter about the Shehane, because he was a big 300 WSM Shehane guy. Mm-hmm. And I asked him, and I still got that reply on my account on Accurate Shooter, and he gave me a lot of good advice to start me off with the Shehane.
Well, what I was going to say is I think he's the one that really catapulted the WSM into stardom.
For sure.
Because he was the one that he put in a lot of work. And
absolutely.
To this day, he says that if he believes that if he had spent as much time and effort like he did on the 300, if he had just done it on the 284 Shehane, he probably would have just became a better shooter anyway. Where
I will say this about the 300 WSM and the big recoil magnums. Now, this is just my personal biased opinion. I think Timmy Vaught and Doug Skogman and a couple other guys, Ken Dickerman, maybe Shiraz. There's a lot of people with 300 WSMs, but I don't think there's a lot of people that can shoot a 300 WSM consistently.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's the bottom line.
Timmy and Doug have put in and I'm sure the other guys have. Well, I'm just speaking from what I know. A lot of time and effort to learn that cartridge, to learn how to shoot it, and in my opinion, they shoot it as well as anybody. And I'm going to try it. Maybe I can shoot it, maybe I can't, but I can guarantee that I'm not going to leave the Shehane. Like I told Dan Bramley, it's the master race, in my opinion. So,
yeah. So 2018, first match in the rain. You don't want to shoot. You set a national record, and then you go on to win the nationals.
Yeah.
Like, you just had a good week.
I went out there before everybody told me, said, hey, if you haven't shot Raton before, you need to try to go out there before nationals. And I made 2 trips out there, and I learned a little something out there. It was just purely coincidence, dude. What I was seeing in the Mirage in my 2 previous trips was the same thing I was seeing during nationals. Mm-hmm. I was like, I know exactly what that is. Mm-hmm. And I had a good rifle.
Yeah.
So, and I was very fortunate, very lucky.
Yeah, man, that that's just, like I said, I think you just have to be there, and sometimes it's just going to work out.
For whatever reason, it was my turn. And like you said, it was my turn to win, and I was very fortunate, and that's the way it happened, the way it shook out.
Yeah, so. Yeah, it was a good win, man. Especially because, you got the record, you win the nationals. That's a good trip.
Absolutely.
Worth the price of admission.
Absolutely.
What about team shooting? How did that? How do you rate, or for example, like new shooters coming into the game, should they look into team shooting, or is that something they should probably avoid? What do you think about team shooting?
I think if you can put a team together, 4 like-minded dudes, 4 or 5, you need to do that.
Or join a team, right? If you can just join.
Yeah, or even if you can get on a team. Yeah. Join a team. our team in the past has tried to emulate what the Lapua Brooks Borden team has done. Because I mean, for the longest, y'all been the best team in the business, in my opinion, and I've been vocal about that more than once.
Thank you.
You know, and you know, monkey see, monkey do, whatever. You know, I mean, there's things that you can learn. One guy can learn so much on his own, but when you get 5 guys together or more or whatever, and y'all work together, y'all can start overcoming some hurdles and saying, hey, this works, this doesn't work. Basically the same conversation you had with Jay during the interview. You got a support group like, hey guys, what am I doing wrong, or what do I need to do here? And having that to fall back on is it can be rewarding if you let it be. You know, check the egos at the door. You know, that's a team wrecker. We're all on the same playing field. There's going to be times when certain guys are better than others. And if I can't win, I'm your biggest cheerleader. You know what I'm saying? I want all of us, we try to work together. We got a good team. And that you learn so much to shoot team, you know, from wind calling to load development techniques, you know, just all sorts of things, man. It's a good deal. If you can get on a team or form a team and play well with others, there's huge benefits to it, for sure.
You mentioned load development techniques, and that's something that a lot of people that during these talks, they're like, why don't you guys talk about that? But that's the one thing that still is kind of, you know, now it used to be individuals kind of holding their cards close to their chest, but I think now it's teams that are, you know, for example, right, because you share with the team, whatever one guy figures out or two, you know, and then they share with the team, and then everybody employs that tactic or that new process or whatever. And then the team as a whole shoots better, and then it's like, okay, that works, right? Because now it's confirmation. When in our case we have 7 guys on the team, all of a sudden 7 guys are shooting better. It's like, okay, perfect, or you know, 4 or the 7 or whatever. You know what I mean?
Sure.
But is that reloading processes are hardly ever something that people talk about openly still in F class? Do you think that still holds a lot of the advantages or some advantage? Because back to the winning by 1x, right, or 2x's, it's a minor advantage can mean the difference between winning and losing, right? Do you think there's a lot of value still to reloading techniques and all that good stuff?
Sure, absolutely. I mean, why wouldn't there be? I mean, it's one thing to share, but it's another thing to share everything, right? Yeah.
So that's, you know, that's where as you know, I like to help people, but at the same time, there's that fine line that I must always walk, and you know, and that's why I don't ask my people that I interview. I don't ask them, because that's literally like a personal question, you know.
Sure. There's answers, then there's basic answers.
Right, and that's the I think especially in F class or like a sport like bench race or something, it's really what separates the winners from everybody else. It's something minute, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And that's why we don't talk about, you know, we talk, reloading, but we don't get into the specifics, because that's where I think lines start to get crossed. And not like, I don't mind sharing everything that I have ever come up with. I don't mind. I'll put it out. However, being on a team, there's a lot of things now that the team has shared with me or somebody on the team, and that I hold sacred, right? I can't.
Absolutely.
I can't pass that on. So, do you think? What do you think is the limit? Like, are we reaching some kind of limit? Maybe bullet design, maybe barrel design, maybe scope design. What do you think the next thing's gonna be?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a tough question. It could be anything.
Yeah, I'm not smart enough to know what's next. So
Right. I mean, obviously none of us can read the future, but I'm going to say yes to all of it. Uh, it all starts. You got to start with the good stuff. You got to have a good gunsmith or do good work. The bullets for the 7mm in our sport is 180s, 184s. I would say the edge goes to the 180s, even though I'm a big proponent of the 184s. I know a lot of people have struggled with them. They've been pretty good to me. Man, we got a plethora of powder now to choose from, right? I mean, used to it was 4831 or 4350. That was really the two powder choices. Now we got Bitterbory powders that are freaking amazing.
Yeah, I'm testing at 555 right now. It's looking
really
good.
Triple nickel's awesome.
Triple nickel, is that what you guys call it?
Yeah.
That stuff is great. I'm loving it.
Yeah, that's what we call it. There's some other good powders out there too. It's still yet if the adage of if you're not shooting burgers, you're getting beat by burgers.
Yeah.
Long range anyway.
That's hard for a lot of people to really grasp, especially the new shooters, right? Because they look at a book and they go, well, this other bullet has a higher BC. It's going to beat that bullet, you know?
A little BC helps somewhere along the way, right? But it shouldn't be the primary decision on what bullet. You can't. First and foremost, it's got to shoot small consistently. If it don't hold waterline, hold vertical, then you're wasting your time. I don't give a crap if the BC 7 is 1,900, whatever. If it won't hold waterline and you're chunking vertical nines every third shot, you'll never win a match.
Never.
I don't give a crap if your win calls are spot on. It don't matter.
Yeah.
Because if it won't hold waterline, it ain't worth shooting.
Yeah, I mean, your win calls can be within a quarter MOA, but if your vertical is 2 MOA, or
right.
it doesn't have to be 2, it just has to be 1.1 MOA.
Right.
That's it.
You cannot give away points and expect to be competitive.
No.
Because the guys that are at the top, like I said, they're sharks. They don't give away points, man. We all miss win calls, right?
Right.
That's a given.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where your points, if you're going to lose points, I mean, nobody wants to miss a win call, but the fact of the matter is we all miss win calls more than once. And you just can't give away nothing.
Yeah. So the cluster ducks, were you part of the original cluster ducks?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you guys that was a pickup team, right? Technically?
Yeah, that was me, James Laney, Kevin Shepard, Joe Myers, and Keith Glasscock. Keith had put a message out on Accurate Shooter looking for a team to shoot with.
Mm-hmm.
And we were actually trying to put a team together that was strictly from Arkansas.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we were basically the only guys from Arkansas that shot at class. So we had to picked up Joe Myers, which is a good friend of ours that we'd shot with a couple of times from Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
And then James is like, hey, there's a guy on Accurate Shooter looking for a team to shoot with. He's from Washington. He said, I'm going to give him a call. I said, okay. And he said, he can be our win coach. I said, sounds good to me, because we really wasn't nobody on our team really win coaches. Not even close, dude. So James called Keith. I guess they got together and they talked. He's like, yeah. And then come to find out, we were lucky enough, again, in my biased opinion, to pick up arguably the best win coach in the game right now. And the rest is kind of history. Some of the members of the team has kind of moved on to other teams, but the team we got now, and under the wind and direction of Keith Glasscock, is pretty salty in my opinion. So
yeah, and of course then you guys became Macmillan. You guys were only cluster ducks for only one year, right? One time.
Yeah, and then there again, and you had a huge hand in that deal. I guess you had spoken with Kelly on occasion.
So what happened was I was in Raton. I don't know what match I was shooting in Raton, and I stayed at the at the hotel, and then in the morning, everybody goes and eats breakfast, whatever. So I'm sitting there, and either I was sitting there and Kelly came and sat with me, or he was sitting there and I went and sat with him, and then we just started talking. You know what I mean? So, as you know, he was a good guy to talk to, good man, right? So we struck up a really good conversation, and like I knew who he was, he knew who I was, but we never actually talked, right? So that morning we just talked and struck up a good conversation, and all right, Kelly, we'll see you, and that's it. And then he reaches out to me, I think through Facebook Messenger, and he wants to put a team together. I said, yeah, you should, And then he wants me to run it for him. And I said, I can't do that, my friend. I'm with Team Lapua. I'm not leaving. I said, but I'll help you. I will help you. And he says, well, if you had to put another team together, and what would you do? And I said, look, I'd probably just go and look at the results and look at, just try to pick these guys. I said, it's going to be really hard to find the good shooters that are not on teams. Because everybody that's a good shooter is on a team. I said, but this is what you can do. You can just announce that you're going to have somewhat like a tryout, and then, have some, they have to be a high master. That gives you some, insight as to how much they've shot, and, because you have to have a qualification. If they're high masters, that's kind of step one. Step two, look at how they're finishing and blah blah blah, right? And I said, and then you're gonna need a win coach. That's gonna be the hard part. I said, because all of those are taken, and so anyway, I kind of laid it out the way I would do it, and that's where we left it. And then I slept on it, and then I got back with him. I said, you know what else you could do? You could just take an existing team and rebrand it. I said, and if I were you, I'd go talk to those cluster ducks guys, because they just threw this team together like 6 months ago, and they already won. So go to those guys. And of course, I knew James Laney. I said, talk to Laney and see where it goes. And of course, Team Macmillan happened, right? And that's how it happened. He came to me and he asked me to help him put a team together. And of course, I was going the long way about it. Then I realized, well, he can just rebrand.
Sure.
So a good team, and that was you guys, and that's how that happened, And after that, I just said, all right, man, good luck, and just left you guys to talk.
Yeah, no, and it worked out. And it ended up being a great relationship. Kelly was an awesome guy. He gave back to the shooting sports a bunch, and he loved shooting sports and hunting as well. And it was an awesome relationship. So
yeah. So that that's how that happened. But it all started with having breakfast at a hotel room, not a room, but in a hotel, whatever.
Yeah.
Eating.
Funny how things work out, right?
Yeah. And then, I mean, I think he passed away too soon, honestly. But
absolutely,
I think that's how it usually goes, right? But yeah, and then after that, we struck up somewhat of a relationship. I was on his talk show. Remember, he had a talk show. Mm-hmm. He asked me to be on it. I was on it, and just good guy. But I was just glad that it worked out the way it worked out for you guys and for him.
Yeah.
I mean,
it was good. It was really good for us. And I mean, he took very good care of us as a team, and he did everything he said he was going to do. And man, he was just a great dude. He could look. There's a lot of good sponsored teams out there, and I'm going to say that the way I feel about it, he took care of us second to none, and it was pretty awesome. And he took care of a lot of people, and a lot of individual junior shooters. The man loved junior shooters, and I'd hate to even guess how many stocks he gave away to junior shooters.
Right.
A bunch. I mean, he just loved the shooting sports, and he loved to give back.
Yeah, and he was always at matches. He was just there walking the line.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And he'd go to matches just to watch and visit with people and support his guys, whatever, support everybody. He just loved sport. So
yeah.
A good man.
So what happens to Team Macmillan now? Are you guys going to rename it, or what's the plan?
We're definitely staying together. We haven't come up with a name yet. We're not actively seeking sponsorship. We're probably going to finish the year out as Team Kelly Macmillan, just to pay some respect.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll see what 2022 brings. As far as the team itself, we're definitely staying together.
Yeah.
Nobody's going anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have a good one.
Yeah. So that's kind of where we're at.
Yeah. I mean, you guys are a good team, man. I mean, I remember back in the day, Team Burger was the team.
Right.
Everybody was.
And you still can't.
Oh, you can't count them
awesome,
out.
man.
You can't
if
count
you
them out.
Count them out, you're making a mistake.
Yeah, I'm not saying we're going to count them out, but they were like nobody was like everybody else was shooting for second place, at best. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But at the time, there was team shooting has become a big deal. Like big.
I wish more people would get on board with team shooting.
I think they need to. I think for me, and I don't know about you, but for me, I've been to a lot of these matches only because of the team. Like if it was only me, I don't know.
It's nice to be a part of something bigger than the individual. Really.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of satisfaction in this coming together as a team and friends and winning. It's an awesome feeling. And you know that probably is well or better than anybody, really. Y'all, like I said, y'all's team are awesome. It's just, I wish, like the team match coming up here in a few weeks, I think there's 10 F Open teams. There ought to be 20 F Open teams in that thing.
Yeah.
I mean, people really should get on board the team. You will progress much quicker as a team than you will ever being an individual.
Yeah, for sure.
The price is worth the admission. I promise you.
Absolutely. And yeah, I mean, we're gonna be there. See what we can do.
Yeah.
So, but yeah,
it's a good match.
I think so, and I'm glad they're doing a team only event because team shooting is, again, to me, like as you saw that interview with Jay, it's I think to me it's one of those things that you must do if you want to get to the top. It's just team shooting is gonna catapult you to the front or at least higher up way faster because, like you said, and not only that, when I joined the U.S. Rifle team, I used to always talk to Larry Bartholomew, but you know how Larry is, kind of real short with people, and I don't mean like in a bad way. I mean like he's just very quiet. You kind of almost have to pry the words out of him. And when I joined the team, the U.S. Rifle team, I asked him a question, and he goes, "Well, you're on the team now. I guess I can tell you." And then he just gave me all kinds of information, and I mean I was like, but that's to me, and I always bring up that story because to me that was the moment that I realized I had made a right decision by being on a team, and then that's day is when I realized the advantages. Because now later Bartholomew is just throwing information at me, and it was all good stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And coming from Larry, I mean, I was just like eating it up, man. It's just amazing.
Right. And there, there's no big secrets out there, but there's little secrets that make a difference.
Oh, those are the ones. Because, like I said, everybody's shooting well because it's pretty well known. Like, don't excise. Like, don't excise.
I can't even say them 2 words.
But
don't.
Yeah, but like you said, everybody has the gist of how it needs to be done, right? Like I bet you everybody's process is very similar, but then there's that little thing here, the little thing there, that just
we're to the point where the minute details, and I'm not talking going down stupid rabbit holes that don't equate to anything on target, but there is some details that do matter on target, and the guys at the top know what those are, and they consistently do them over and over and over. They have a process. All the good guys have a process that works, and on the basic side of it, it's pretty basic, but it's the small details that matter. Some of them.
I did an interview with Bob Bach, and he said back in the 2009 team, he figured out that measuring bullets base to tip made a big difference. Because back then they weren't tipping, they weren't trimming, they weren't doing anything,
Right.
And of course, Bob Bach being an engineer, right? He figured this out, and of course it was one of those that don't tell anyone. Like, this stays with the team, right? And it took a good half a decade for that to get out. You know what I mean? And of course, now I can tell people that, and they just ignore me. Like, that doesn't matter. Fine, don't do it then. But I think people should at least test it. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And I'm not.
First time I ever heard that. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. First time what?
First time I ever heard the base to tip was from David Gosnell. I thought, if it's good enough for David, it's good enough for me. I'm going to go home and start measuring base to tip.
He was on the 2009 team under Bob Bach.
Right. See, I didn't know that, but that's the first I'd heard of. It never even crossed my mind that maybe different BCs on the bullets go through at a different spot. I don't know.
When David, when I interviewed David Gosnell, he said he told me that he got that from a team captain. I said, yeah, Bob Bach. He goes, oh, okay. I don't, he was still being tight-lipped about it. You know what I mean? Even though I was asking him point blank. But that's what I'm talking about. Those little things. That's not as nowadays, I think.
Oh, that's just common knowledge.
Well, but to you and me and the guys, kind of what I say, the guys in the know, right? But there's a lot of people watching this right now that never heard that before, and they're like, really? And a lot of people will say, that doesn't matter. Fine, don't do it, or don't even test it. But so, Norm, what's next? What is it that you want to win? Like, is there one? Because obviously you wanted to win the Nationals. I'm sure you won that. You wanted to set a national record. You've done that. I'm sure you wanted to be on a successful team. You've done that. What's that one thing that you go, I wish I could win that?
It'd be cool if I could win the Southwest Nationals.
Okay.
I'd like to pull that off. Mm-hmm. I don't know that I would ever be able to. That's a pretty tall order. When I think that list is pretty small. I know David Gosnell's done it. He's won Nationals and Southwest Nationals.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be pretty cool.
Oh, you talk about dual champions? Somebody has won both?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a slim.
That list is small.
Yeah.
maybe one day doing a Derek Rogers winning a TR championship and an Open championship.
Yeah,
That'd be
that's
pretty cool.
in a world championship.
Oh well, yeah, that's probably. I mean, I try to be realistic.
Well, I'm talking about Derek. Derek has won the
Oh
world.
yeah, right. I mean, does anybody? He's got King of 2 Miles, a World Championship, FTR Championship, F Open Championship. I mean, is there really anybody with a better resume? Honestly, it's pretty impressive, dude.
It is. It is. I'm sure Dickerman likes to hear that story a lot. You know why?
I know why.
He came in second the year that Derek won. A TR shooter, he just showed up to shoot, and he wins the Nationals, and Dickerman got second place. Like
that was at Sacramento, correct?
Yep. So Southwest Nationals, it's just tough to win any of these matches. Really, it's
hard to win, man.
But
I'm just happy. Honestly, when I go to all the big matches, I set a goal. My goal is always top 20. So if I finish top 20, I'm okay with that. And I went through some burnout for a while and didn't put a lot of effort into it.
I was going to ask you about the burnout, because that usually happens to people that win. It just hits you like, okay, I accomplished that. I can take it easy. It happens, man. It's just one of those things. It happened to me after the World Championship, because it takes a lot of work to get up to that level.
It does, man. There for a while, I was just happy with going to matches, not putting effort into it. And I was happy with that, dude. It just allowed me to go shoot and relax, no pressure. I don't care. And it shows. And I don't know, guys that continually just have the intestinal fortitude just to keep hammering away, kudos to them, man. I don't know. I'd like to see my wife really come along as a shooter and develop more. She's at a good spot right now. If you're listening, hun, quit taking so many chances. She lets her ego get in the way. She's like, I got this, and sometimes you don't got it, and you shoot and you pay the price for it, but it's a learning process, right?
Yeah, it's one of those things that you almost have to be humble in front of the target and say, you know what? I remember when I won the Texas State, I don't know what year, but I was, you know how it is, like any match, right? I think I was 1 point down going into the last match, and I'm shooting, and I dropped shot number 10 or so. I think I dropped a point, and then I was like, I can't give anything away, right? And then I shot 15, the wind changed, so I stopped, and I waited. And then my condition came back, and I waited, and I'm like, okay, I'm back. I'm going to jump in, see what happens. And I jumped in with a 10 or an X or something. And then I just ran. Boom, 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 boom. Shot 19. I chambered 20, and then the wind did something funny. So I stopped. I opened my bolt, and I just waited, and I waited, and I waited. And I waited a long time. And then my condition came back. Then I shot, and I hit a 10 or an X. And the whole point of that story is somebody asked me, how were you able to, he goes, I can see you shot 15, but 19, like you were out, like you were done. How were you able to hit the brakes? Because you know how it is when you're at shot 19 and you just want to get it over with, right? And I said, man, I just knew that I couldn't give anything away, just because you know how it is. That's when the last 9 happens, when you're just trying to get out of there and you just send it. And and I was lucky enough to win the championship. Not because of that. I had enough room, but of course I didn't know that, right? So the point is, you just got to hang on to as many points as you can. And like Speedy says, you can always lose points at the end of the allotted time. don't get in a hurry to drop 9s just because you're like, I've been shooting in this condition, but I think I can take that one. No, just wait. If your condition doesn't come back and you're running out of time, at that point, fine. Try to tackle a different condition, right?
Yeah.
But
it's a thinking man's game, really, and your thought process through a string of 20 needs to be fluid sometimes. Sometimes you need to just stick with what you started with, like you did. You're like, I'm not going to take any chances, no unnecessary chances.
Right.
Club matches, this is kind of off, but it kind of ties into what we're talking about. When you go to club matches, that's when you take the chances. When you go shoot a club match, don't just go shoot one condition. Because,
well,
dude, take the chance of shooting something different. Take the opportunity to learn something.
So, talking to John Whitten, and he said the club matches should be used. For example, you make a decision before you get there. You say, you know what? Today I'm going to shoot in the switches. He goes, so you look for those switches so you can shoot in them. He goes, and don't worry about your score. You're there to shoot switches, right?
Right.
He goes, and next time you go out there, you're going to say, you know what? Today I'm going to only pick one condition, and that's what I'm shooting. And the minute that condition changes, you stop. And when it comes back, you go back to shooting. And he goes, and you're just working out that muscle of stopping and going, figuring out a condition. He goes, and then maybe next club match, you say, okay, today I'm going to only read flags. I'm going to ignore the mirage 100%. I know I can read it, so if you suck at reading flags, go to a club match and say, I'm only going to read flags. And that's what you do until you master the flags. And then if you suck at reading mirage, you said, okay, today I'm only going to read mirage. Ignore the flags. He goes, and that's just how you're going to build that ammunition, the wind reading ammunition. But you have to force yourself in club matches to do the things that you suck at. That's what they're for.
That's
and then
exactly right.
When you go to the nationals or the big events, now you have, doesn't matter what the wind or the range throws at you, then you go, okay, the flags, but there's the mirage. I think I'm going to use mirage. And halfway through, the mirage goes to hell. Okay, well, I'm going to switch to flags. He goes, and now you're just more comfortable with everything. He goes, but don't worry about losing club matches. It's practice. And and you should practice the thing that you are bad at. And it's 100%, I agree with him.
I agree with that thought process as well. Just Keith Glasscock, there's a couple of guys that I know, like Todd Hendricks, Keith Glasscock, Ryan Bowling, in my opinion, are guys that can take mediocre rifles and manage them well enough to have good finishes. Mm-hmm. And that's a skill set, honestly. I've seen Keith do it. I've seen Brian do it just at Montana. And one particular relay, Todd was like, man, I had to aim the top of the 10 ring to the bottom 10 ring just to manage whatever vertical is on the range and stuff. That's a skill set.
Yeah.
Taking a mediocre rifle to a club match and learning how to keep it centered up and manage the vertical is a skill set that hopefully you don't have to use too often, but when you do have to use it, it's a tool in the toolbox. The more tools you got in your toolbox, the better your results are going to be.
I always preach centering your group. You have to learn how to center your group.
Absolutely.
Again, that's another thing that I've always, not always, but for a long time I've been working on and always preaching that. But in, I don't know when, one of these nationals, I won a gold medal with a 207 X's. And I beat Jim Fowler. He shot 6 X's. Like, we shot terrible. But they were cleans. But what people didn't see was my clean. It took up, I hit every line like that. It seemed like, but it was perfectly, I was more proud about the fact of how centered it was. Had it not been centered as perfect as I centered that group, I would have leaked the point. Because, that gun was shooting big.
Yeah. I'll take a dirty 200 over 199 any day of the week.
But
Right.
you know, it was a dirty 200. It was, but like I said, I mean 7Xs. It had to be right. But it just
Especially if Fowler.
I took up. Yeah, I beat Fowler, but not. I didn't beat him hard enough to make him chunk a barrel. So, and that's a story for another day.
Yeah.
All right, champ. Man, I appreciate you doing this. I enjoyed it. I hope you did too.
Oh yeah, it was awesome. Thank you.
So
I love what you're doing with it. So
thank you. So you get to nominate somebody. Who do you want me to go talk to now?
Timmy Vaught or Keith Glasscock, one of them two guys.
Okay. All
That's who I
right.
would nominate.
I will do that. I will reach out and see what they want to do. But yeah, I think I'd like to talk to Tim because I told him not to build a 300, and he did, and he proved me wrong. So I want to talk to him about it.
Again, I'm just biased, but I think he's one of the best 300 wisdom shooters in the country.
But you know, again, he is also one of the hardest working shooters that I've been.
No doubt.
And
no doubt.
And again, that's what it takes to build a 300. You have to put in so much time behind it. And Timmy, I mean, man, and I've told him this, and I don't think he truly believes me when I tell him that he has earned every win he has gotten because of how hard he works. He just works hard.
He's got a work ethic like nobody else in the F classes, that, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah.
Going and shooting 3 times a day, that's his wheelhouse. He wants to know everything. He's just an awesome guy, an awesome shooter, and I'm proud to call him a teammate. But when it comes to that 300 wisdom, like I said, there's a few guys, in my opinion, that shoot them well, and he's definitely one of them.
Yep, so, for sure. All right, man, I'll reach out and I will name drop you.
All right, brother. Thank you.
Norm said you had to talk to me.
Yeah. That $1.50 will get you a cup of coffee.
All right, man. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you. All right, you too.